Well, good morning. Welcome to I don't really have a lot to say in this video, I don't think. You can never say anything for certain from one moment to the next, and never try to predict anything, because that discounts the miracle. And man is a miracle. This idea of life is a miracle. Everything that seems to be, even the understanding of the ideas that what seems to be is an illusion, even that's a miracle. And as the dreamer of my dream, as the observer of my conscious self, portrayed by this idea of entity and habitat, the idea of taking it for granted or missing one moment of it because I have forgotten my connection, forgotten my presence, my living presence, which is easy enough to do, is something that becomes less tolerable as the mind awakens. To have that living connection, that living presence, as the dreamer of your dream, as the manifester of all things that appear and seem to appear, is an incredible power that allows the mind to transcend the level of fear, the level of conscious engagement, wherein the idea that a reaction to something must be formed, must be had, an opinion must be held, a belief for the mind to operate solely from solely from a defenseless posture, an open place, is in this world the most beautiful gift. As the dreamer of the dream, I find myself in the driver's seat. I find myself in a place of total responsibility for everything that shows up in my world. And that connection allows atonement, or it is the atonement, within the physical parameters of the situation I find myself in, as well as in the nature of truth as light, which is the natural state of the mind, as God. It's been said that the closest state of living to God is to live as God-man, or Christ conscious, Buddha conscious, Krishna conscious, wherein the awareness of the oneness of self in relationship to all things as one thing, one relationship with self, is the non-fluxing, non-varying, non-dual nature of things, of the mind. And that state of being God-man, or non-dual. I don't really like the idea of non-dual. I think the idea of a non-something really actually is kind of pointless, altruistic, singular. The place of singular consciousness wherein my relationship with the outside world and my inside thinking are the one relationship. Is as high as you can go, or is as awakened without awakening as you can get. And the awakening on one hand is the stepping out of, or the disappearing of, the entirety of the physical nature, including the vessel, in the direct union with Source, with God. And the awakening is the truing up to the experience that is revealed in that, of the oneness of all things, through the mind training, or the relinquishment, which is an ongoing practice, of temporal association as being something that is separate or outside of myself, to a point wherein the activation or the connection with Source, with God, in a rising up, becomes stable, and becomes something that is joyful and experiential. Change is nothing to be afraid of. Change is something to be welcomed. Although I will admit, initially, ideas of change were presented in a fearful light through the memory associations that I had of change in my own conscious memory. And this is primarily because change was the very first experience of something that I had as consciousness, evolving from a singular state, wherein the idea of being separate from God entered my mind. All things, all conscious associations, all people, all minds, being reflections of my consciousness, my mind, share then intrinsically at a fundamental level that core experience of separation, that core belief which has to be confronted and entered as an idea of entering the void, in order to see that the void no longer exists, that nothing exists, that all things are already accomplished, and that what I seem to see around me as time and space is simply the sacred residue of a long ago dreaming that is already over. And as the dreamer of my dream, it's easier to picture that doneness, that overness, through the idea of the script is written, that salvation is already fulfilled, and that he is risen. And the laughing and the joy is a spontaneous alignment, is the effect of a spontaneous alignment within my mind that takes place when the conscious mind aligns with truth, when conscious thought reflects on earth the nature of truth at its highest ability or highest possible point of integration here. The highest identity that the ego mind, the mind that still retains a belief in separation, can attain, of course, is the spiritual one. And transcending even that, is the doorway to direct union, the doorway to direct experience, direct connection. Which the mind will do of itself if it's allowed to. And the greatest tool for self-discovery on the planet at the moment is the divine text and lessons in the workbook of A Course in Miracles, which leads the mind through the undoing of its own conscious association of itself and relieves it of the falsity of the identity that it has viciously set up for itself. That it can transform and transcend the conscious level and go forward on the journey of the soul upon the laying aside of the vessel, bypassing the bardo states and participating in a collaborative venture on a higher level, as the expansion of mind and the awakening continues to play itself out throughout all dimensions. For anyone who's watching this video, who like me has already made the decision or is making the decision to join in the collaborative venture, which salvation is, individually and collaboratively, and who is looking for assistance, I'll post a link to the website down below, and in that link, if you go to the resources section, you'll find the white edition of the Course in Miracles. You need to purchase both parts, part A and B, or there's a free download, a PDF download, which is there for free for your phone or tablet. And simply read the words as you understand them. Don't be concerned if you don't understand, just keep reading. When you feel like you're beginning to get a sense of where things are going, start the workbook. Thank you. Just do the lessons as you're instructed to do them. One lesson a day and not more than one lesson a day. Each of these lessons works together to bring about an action of mind that is continually doing this, continually bringing back the remembrance that I am the dreamer of my dream. What I see is me. Everything around me I have a living connection with, which is holy. A living connection with, which is beyond words. Yes. Peace.